Adventure in High Technology is put on by Nepean Canada Club in Ottawa. It's been running 37 years. So it's another one of these Rotary programs that has real longevity. It typically, and we'll hear from Ashleigh and sorry how many were in it this year, it may have been more because it's virtual, but it was typically running around 24 students. And the students get an opportunity to hear from different people in different aspects of high technology. So I think that's enough of a introduction. Ashleigh, I'll give it to you. And so we can see you're on. We can't see you, and that's okay if you'd like it that way, but just so you know. And so let us know, what you encountered with this program, what you thought of it. By all means, let us know a little bit about yourself and what your future plans are shaping up to be. And I'm sure there's lots of shaping up yet to go as you learn more and go further. And I guess the other comment I didn't make is you're from Bay Ridge Secondary, and for the club members, Paul Elsley is connected with John Swain at Bay Ridge Secondary, and John identified 4 students that went, and we sponsored 2. And so Ashleigh's one of them. So go ahead, Ashleigh, take it away.
Oh, okay. So hi, here, let me turn my camera on. I can get this working. It's a new computer, so it's a bit iffy. Okay, so hi, my name is Ashleigh. As Mr. Mumford said, I am from Bay Ridge Secondary School. I'm in grade 10, and I was, I guess, chosen to do the Adventures in High Tech I put in my name because I've always been interested in science and technology. I never really knew what I wanted to go into. I have more of a focused idea now. I'm looking into biomedical engineering, which for anyone who isn't completely sure on what that is, it's making things like prosthetic arms and different, I guess, medical devices out of technology to help people with either disabilities or health issues. So I've more focused in on that now, but especially when I was doing the Adventures in High Tech back in October, I wasn't completely sure on what I wanted to do. And honestly, the people who were presenting were absolutely fascinating. And it was a really cool experience. I really think it was a genuinely good experience for people to have, because it just kind of puts out, I guess, the amount of range there is in technology. Because there was presentations from the beginning was someone who was doing something from Relish Studios, which is basically just a kids game company, and they've worked all over the board. They've worked with Hasbro, I think they've worked with Disney, and they've worked a bunch of big name companies. And the guy was just talking about how he started it when he was a teenager, just kind of messing around in his basement with a couple friends, and it turned out to be this huge big thing. And I find that really, really fascinating, because it shows that anything can really happen. It goes from that end of the spectrum all the way to autonomous vehicles and quantum security from Google. It was crazy. And it really shows you everything technology can do. So yeah, one of my personal favorites was from Amanda Calhouse, which was something on motor vehicles. And one of the reasons I found it so fascinating and I guess inspiring is because at the time I was looking into a very, very similar career path she was. And it was very kind of fascinating to see how she went and how she turned out and how she's this big name now. She was from Keynote, and it was really, really cool. And it just, that kind of inspired me to look more into it, which ended up helping me find biomedical, which was really cool. So yeah, that was one of my personal favorites. I'm trying to think of anything important I should say here. I guess for feedback on the program, because I heard there was feedback. One of the things, there was absolutely amazing speakers and everything. There was one speaker that I was thinking might at least my personal interest was a speaker from Carleton University. Well, there were multiple, but one of them was just talking about Carleton University and the perks and all that kind of stuff. And I personally, it wasn't my personal favorite, which makes sense. I'm not looking into going to Carleton. So one of the things that maybe we could try for next year is just talking, it's someone from Carleton, but just about university as a whole, maybe not so specified on Carleton, but you could talk about just the way university works, different things you could go into with tech. like different undergraduate degrees or different graduate degrees you go into, and like highlighting some from Carleton. I just think that would be a slight bit more interesting. But it was an absolutely amazing thing, and I honestly fascinated me so much. Is there anything that you guys would like me to talk about, or is there any specific things you guys would like me to mention? Because I've got I just don't know really what or when to say it.
So let me lead that off. Just a quick one from you on this Carleton U feedback. Did you give that feedback to the program?
I did not.
Okay. You can, or I will. That's because that's really excellent feedback for sure. And they should benefit from your feedback on that. But the one you mentioned Amanda Calhouse, and she spoke the year before. So I looked at her video from the year before. And I think it was from that course the year before. So I'd like your comment on one of the things she talked about in that video was how she came up through a structured environment of project management and engineering and so on, and ended up in GM doing this basically design for production, designing parts of vehicles that are going to go in vehicles. And then, in a heartbeat, they changed her business unit over to advanced technology. And I don't know if she talked about that this year or not. And she talked about how she felt a lack of confidence to go into this innovation stuff. And so on. Did you speak about that? And can you give us your reflections on that? Because I think that might have been a very interesting piece of talk.
Okay, yeah. So kind of just furthering on what Mr. Humphrey said, one of the main things she kind of spoke about is how she went through RMC. And so she grew up kind of very structured through the military, and then she went through to engineering and things like that. And she started working on product management, and everything was kind of fine and structured. And then her boss just kind of moved her to advancement high technology. And it was a very nerve-wracking experience because it was really new, and it was like anything from what she was used to. And I think that was a really good thing to talk about, because it just kind of shows life changes on a whim. And if you roll with it, it can turn out into really amazing things, like it did for Amanda, where if she had just like refused to go into high technology and stayed where she was, she might not have advanced in her career like she has, and she might not be in a position like she is now, which I think, well, at least from my viewpoint, I think she really likes.
Yeah, and she spoke of her lack of confidence in being able to do the innovation. And so tell us how many patents she's got to her name now. Did she tell you?
I don't remember. I don't think she told me how many patents.
28, I think.
Oh my God.
So this person went from this lack of confidence to be able to innovation to, leading a big team now and making a contribution, and 28 patents, I think, to her name.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So there's, so for you to hear that kind of experience from people, I would hope would be really interesting.
Oh yeah. And like I said, it just kind of furthers on the point where it shows you that, like, if you try different things, and if you try just different things in tech with the gigantic range there is, you're bound to end up somewhere that you really, really enjoy. Yeah. Which is really cool.
So does that trigger any more thoughts for you for feedback on the session?
I don't think so. I think it went really well, especially that segment, because it kind of shows that life adapts. It's really, like, you can be nervous, you can be anxious, but if you roll with it, you're most likely to end up somewhere really amazing if you actually work with it. I think that worked out really well. That's
great. So I'll turn everybody else loose on you now, Ashleigh, for questions and so on.
All right.
Anybody?
I have a question. How many women were in the program?
How many women were in the program? Like, how many, like, speakers, or how many participants?
Participants.
I don't know the sheer amount, but there was quite a few. I'd say a little bit less than half, but it was quite up there.
And do you think that they will go on to STEM careers?
Personally, I think so. I think STEM is an amazing career for women. Like, I've always been interested in it, and I've talked to many people who also are. So I mean, if they end up going in different career paths due to interests, I mean, I can't control that, but I think they would, honestly, especially with this. It inspired me a lot. I would think it would also inspire them.
It's good.
Thank you.
That's good.
No problem.
Thanks, Leslie, for that. Rick?
Just a quick question, Ashleigh. Are you familiar at all with Rotary, or were you aware of what Rotary is or was, or prior to this Adventures program?
Not at all. If I'm being 100% honest, not at all. I found it out through Adventures in High Tech, and they did like a segment in the beginning where it kind of explained Rotary and like talked about how like everything and like the background and all that kind of stuff. But before I joined this, I had no idea what it was.
So now what do you think of Rotary?
It's really cool. Like I looked a bit more into it, and there was also like a leadership one that's being held, and that looks really cool too. And it's just kind of like the rate again, just I say this a lot. Just different things for people who are interested in just either leadership positions like teaching or being like a manager or something, people who are interested in tech, and there's just kind of a very big spectrum. I think it could apply to anyone, and it's really cool.
So Ashleigh, the high school version of Rotary, if I can say it that way, is Interact. And Bay Ridge does or did for sure have an Interact program. Does anybody know if they still have one active?
I don't know. I don't remember if it is active.
Leslie, do you know? You're on mute, Leslie.
Sorry, there is a club that I understand that is similar to an Interact, but it's not called as such. Is it? But it promotes public service. Is it Horizons or something like that? Is there a?
I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, do you know of one?
I think they have some, yeah, they have something I think called Achieve Club, which I think you're talking about, which I think encompasses that. It has like the Duke of Edinburgh Awards type thing.
Okay, I'll inquire more.
So
Okay.
given Rick brought it up about Rotary, I just thought I'd let you know there's a high school Interact capability. Not sure if it's active in Bay Ridge or not. And then, as you progress through the universities, many of them have Rotaractor clubs, which is basically that, young adult version of the same thing, right? So there's lots of, if you get kind of hooked on public service above self, Rotary motto, there's lots and lots of places where you can connect to Rotary.
All right, I'll definitely keep that in mind. Thank you so much.
Okay, anything else? Bill?
Okay, I guess sometimes I think about these adventures programs that, well, they're only 4 days, and it'll be great during that time, and then afterwards it'll sort of fade from memory and whatever. This one was 4 days, was it? Or how long was this program, the high-tech one?
3 days, 2.5 days.
2.5
Yeah.
days. Okay, so it's a short program, but do you feel that, given the nature of the program, it was enough to really be effective, to really have some change in the way you look at your future?
Yeah, personally, I think it was. And even like with, like you said, if things did fade from memory for people, there's certain points in the program, out again, in my experience, that kind of stand out and do kind of make you think about different things differently and kind of show you different opportunities, whether you like really, really love it or whether you just like look into it a bit more and you decide it really isn't for you. Either way, it kind of leaves a bit of an impression where even if you don't remember the entire 2.5 days as a whole, you still remember little key pieces that apply to you.
And did you make some new friends?
We weren't able to really talk
Okay.
that much because it was all virtual. It was just kind of all the speakers. So I don't know. I mean, I was gonna email Amanda Calhouse. I just never got to it because I couldn't figure out the wording. But I don't think I really met anybody. But if it was in person, I'd say that'd be quite different.
Yeah.
So Ashleigh, don't worry about the wording. If you want to email her, email her.
Okay.
She'll understand.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, for sure.
I have it in my draft. I just haven't sent it because I
Yeah.
keep looking at it and like.
Yeah.
Well, don't sweat it too much because, basically her talk will tell you she'll understand.
Touche. That's very fair.
Press
Don
send.
Gale?
Yeah, I have a question. Actually, I remember sort of being in grade 10 a long time ago, far, far away from me. And I know that in grade 10, I wasn't concentrating on my future story the way you are. I wasn't thinking about going off to university, and I didn't have a kind of a focus on a particular pursuit the way you have. And I'm wondering what impact attending this Adventures in Technology had for you. Were you already focused like that before you got into the program, or did the program juice your, add some juice to what you were thinking about where you were going to go?
I'd say a bit of both. I've always been kind of oriented on what the next step is. It's just how I've been raised because my parents are very pro education and very just like trying to get me into many experiences. But with the program, it kind of helps focus my interests a bit more because beforehand it was just kind of like something like I knew I wanted to go somewhere, so I just tried to get the best grades as possible and try to like think of different opportunities. But with this, it kind of showed me, because another thing I was looking into is cybersecurity, and there was quite a few presentations on that, and it was very interesting to kind of look at, and it kind of helped focus my interests a bit more. Now I can look more into things that are actually like better suited for me than just the entirety of STEM.
Yeah, so
That's helpful.
so I've got the program title topics in front of me. I'm on Ashleigh, and for the group, you got subjected to a really wide spectrum of tech, right? Quantum security. You mentioned rolling out autonomous vehicles, which is like going to be huge. Introduction to product management by my old buddy Ron Willard, and Telesat, artificial intelligence, IT security, IT cybersecurity just mentioned, IBM defense tech, secure communications, Internet of Things, 3D monitoring and programming, virtual reality, and then the keynote from Amanda. So you got a really good introduction to kind of some of the things that are out there. That's great. Rick?
Excellent.
Oh, sorry, what?
Rick?
Yeah, Ashleigh, this particular adventure has been done, I guess, via Zoom. And a lot of the other things that you have had to deal with have been on either Zoom or that kind of format. How is this affecting you, and this kind of program? Is this a good format, or being in person with everybody else, in a room? Is that the preferred way you'd like to have this done, or?
Yes. So I've got to take my own, I guess, personal bias into account. But I think if you are actually in a room with people, it like immerses you in that experience, and the people are actually there. Even if they're on the screen, you're with other people who are learning. You're not just kind of in your room sitting there. And it's just kind of like makes you want to pay more attention because they are right there. It kind of makes you feel like you're part of it. And this was an amazing way to do it, partially because there's international students now. You can get a wide range of people. But personally, I believe that if it was in person, it would like wasn't one of the things someone mentioned was making connections and making friends. That would have a big impact on it. It would kind of like change, I guess, make you a bit like more optimistic, more happy with it. And plus, just with the actual presentations, it'd be a lot more like people could, like the presentators, they could read the room, they could see if people are understanding, if they're not understanding, whether they like the topic or not, and just kind of like even just that feedback for themselves, which I think would be quite good instead of just staring at names on a screen. But that's my own personal opinion. I really, really like being with people. I am very extroverted. So I've got to take that into account. But personally, I think it would be a bit better in person. But I'm not complaining at all. This was an amazing experience.
And at the moment, what's happening at Bay Ridge and the other secondary schools? Are you all on video, or have you had some in classroom?
So right now, today is actually our first day back in person. We had 2 weeks online, or I guess like 1.5 weeks online, and we are finally allowed back in person. And currently we're still doing a quadmester system where it's 2 classes instead of semesters. It's just kind of broken in half. Which I mean, semesters would be cool, but I'm kind of cool with either. But I'm just so done with online. Honestly, it's driving me a little bit crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, yesterday was your first day back, except it was a snow day.
Yep.
So just in terms of the virtual on this program this year, how many students were on it? Do you know? How many about?
There was 30 something. It was
Yeah,
either
okay, so a
34 or
little bit bigger.
37, I think.
Yeah, a little bit bigger than normal. Okay. Can we let Ashleigh go? Anything else? Any questions you want to ask of us, Ashleigh?
Oh gosh. Okay. I was not thinking of this. Okay. Just what's it like being involved in Rotary? Like, what's it like being one of the sponsors for people?
Well, the youth programs are one of the most exciting and satisfying parts of what we do. Now, every Rotarian would answer that differently, right? To somebody else, it would be, helping people in Africa who have nothing, get something would be the most important. So it's very individual. And the beauty of Rotary is there's enough variety, enough places where you can help that you can find something that you like. And I'm kind of personally, I'm biased towards the education and youth education and so on. In another life, I chaired the foundation for Science and Tech Museum. So, but any other individuals here would give you different answers. So anything, right? And everything. And the Rotary really big, bold one was eradicate polio in the world, right? That was Rotary started. Rotary keeps pushing it. Melinda and Bill Gates are putting many dollars into it every year, but it was a Rotary initiative, right? And there's smaller initiatives everywhere.
Wow.
Anybody want to comment on that?
Well, it started as a global grant to the Philippines, so led by a few Rotary clubs, and then it became, because of the success of that global grant, it became a worldwide mission to eradicate polio. And Rotary plays a huge part still today in helping out to dole out the vaccine to many families all over the world. So it's pretty powerful how an idea can get started, and one club puts it together, and then it just mushrooms throughout the world.
And it's not just it, and it's not just the money. I mean, doctors from all over the world, take their holidays and go to other parts of the world to do service.
Yeah, that's right. Leslie, you have a question?
I was just going to ask Ashleigh if she would recommend this or Rotary to, what would you say to other students?
I'd say it's an amazing experience. Like I said, even if, let's say, like they go into the program and they find out technology isn't their thing, it kind of helps them notice that. It's made them realize something and maybe made them more focus their interests, even if it's in other places. And plus, just even if you take that aspect out, it was an absolutely amazing experience, just like looking at everything kind of coming together. And with Rotary, like finding out just helping children in Africa and all that kind of stuff, even just like going into it, like being one of the sponsors, I think I would also recommend. It'd be really cool.
So I did do. Looks like Ashley's got to go. I'm going to do a quick follow up on that though from Leslie. So Ashley, we try to connect to the schools through the guidance counselor network, but we'd love to connect through the students. So think about it, and if you have recommendations for us about how to connect to the student population on all the Rotary programs, send me an email, and we can have further discussion.
And I think you have to run, but I just want to say a really quick thank you, and just for the enthusiasm that you brought and to our meeting this morning. And that's just one of the great things about Rotary for me. And a couple of things that you said that I'll remember. I've highlighted them here in my notes. And you said life changes on a whim, and then you said roll with it. And you sure are, and I wish you the best as you continue to roll with it and find great opportunities for yourself and spread the word. Thank you very much.
All right.
Okay, and I heard you about the leadership thing. So Ryla's coming up. I'll make sure you know when it's on.
All right, got it. Thank you so much.
All right.
Thanks, Ashley.
All right,
Have fun at
bye.
school.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.